everyone, welcome to another video. I hope you guys are doing fine. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are staying blessed. In this video we are going to make this mesh top. I wanted to make a new design, so I went through my yarn storage and then I found this mesh pattern that I started a long time ago, I think about last year, but for some reason I never finished it. I think it was probably because I did not have enough yarn. But I found another gray one that was actually from the same brand, even though it was a different color, and I thought, let me just finish this so I can have 2 tutorials up this week, which means I'm gonna have 2 this week, which I'm excited for. I want to be able to give you guys 2 different tutorials each week. So if you haven't seen the one I posted this week, go and check it out. But we are going to be making this cute summer top. I decided to just, I've never done roses before, this was a bit of a challenge project for me because I've never really worked with roses before, but I thought a simple mesh top with a rose would be so cute, so I decided to make this. I used cotton yarn. Both of them are cotton yarns. Obviously I said it's from the same brand. It's a super lightweight yarn. I don't have a label because, again, like I said, this was like a project that I abandoned and decided to pick it up and finish it off, so I don't have a label. I used a 3mm for the entire project, for the panel itself and for the roses. Everything was made with a 3mm. I have 6 rows, 2 small, 2 medium and 2 large, and now in the tutorial, of course, I'm going to show you guys how we can make the rows as well. You will be needing a yarn. You can also use a lightweight yarn or medium weight yarn for this project. You will be needing a 3mm or whatever recommended crochet hook that was recommended for the yarn. You will be needing a needle, a measurement tape, scissors as well. This is what it looks like from the back. Super plain, super plain. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any questions, as always, don't hesitate to drop them down in the comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video. You're going to go ahead and make a slip knot, and because the pattern is worked a multiple of 2, you will be dividing your bust measurement into 2. So for example, if your bust measurement is 42 inches, you're going to divide that by 2, which is going to leave you with a total of 21 inches. So now you're going to just make multiple of 2, sorry, until you have a total of 21 inches for the base, for the foundation chain. Hey guys, so I have my foundation chain. I chained a total of 86 chains, which is still a multiple of 2. Like I mentioned, you want to make sure you keep that in mind. And I have a total of 21 inches in total, right? So what I'm going to do from here on is I'm going to chain an additional 1, which is going to be a turning chain for this pattern. For the turning chain, I'm going to go into the second chain with a double crochet stitch. After the double crochet, I'm going to chain 1, skip 1 chain, and into the next I'm going to go with the double crochet stitch. Right after, you're going to chain 1, skip a chain, and into the next you're going to go with a double crochet. And this is the pattern you're going to repeat for the entire row, and I'll see you guys at the end of the row. I just finished the first row, and this is what it should look like. Again, if you chain in multiple of 2, you should be able to go into that last stitch with your last double crochet. From here on, to start with 2, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and you're going to go into this very first double crochet with a double crochet right above that stitch. Right after, you're going to chain 1. After chaining 1, you're skipping this chain because you're going into this next double crochet with a double crochet. So you're basically skipping this chain, and right into this next double crochet you're going to go with a double crochet. From there on, you're going to chain 1, skip the chain 1, and into the double crochet with a double crochet, chain 1, skip the chain 1, and into the double crochet with a double crochet. And guys, this is what you're going to repeat until you get to the end of the row. At the end of the row, you're going to chain 1, turn, and repeat the same step. I did a total of 38 rows, I think, I'm not sure, but I'm going to repeat this for the back panel until I have my desired length, and I'll see you guys when I have my desired length complete. This is what the back panel looks like. I did a total of 38 rows, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how long that is. You can make this as long as you want it to be. You can also make this into a crop polo t-shirt if you decide to, but this is currently 16 inches, and I think this length is fine because I'm going to eventually wear this piece with a high-waisted skirt or pants, so I think the length is fine. I have a total of 19 rows, which is basically the half of my panel, the half of the rows for the for the back panel. Sorry, the reason why I stopped at 19 is because, again, like I said, mine is not super long, it's just the average length. So if you're making this longer, you don't have to stop at the you don't have to divide the amount of rows you did for the back panel to know how much you need for the front panel. I don't know if that makes sense, but how you would actually know is whatever length, whatever rows you did for the back panel, you're just going to go ahead and take the measurement. In my case, it was 16 inches, right? So the measurement minus 8 inches is what you're going to do for the first set of the front panel. So for example, if you ended up doing about 28 inches for your back panel, you are going to go ahead and subtract 8 from the 28, which leaves you with 20, which means yours is going to be 20 inches long instead of 8 inches long, which is what mine is at the moment. I hope you guys understand what I mean. So that is what you're going to do. So I ended up just doing the half of the measurement, which is my 19 rows, because obviously, again, like I said, mine just divides itself at the center. But again, for example, if you're making a shorter version of this, let's say for example you have, instead of 38 rows, you have 30 rows, you're just going to take the measurement of the 30 rows. Let's say it's about 14 inches. You're going to divide 8 inches from the 14 inches, which is going to leave you with a total of 6 inches, which means this is going to be 6 inches for you instead of 8 inches. I hope you guys understand what I mean by that, but if you don't, let me know. Feel free to leave up the questions down and I will see if I can explain this in any better way. But this is what my panel looks like. So from now on, we are going to divide the front panel into 2. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold your panel into 2 and grab a stitch marker and mark the center stitch. Hey guys, so right there I just marked that stitch with the stitch marker, right? So that's going to be my center stitch, which is going to help me identify where I need to eventually stop. So for the next row, you're going to chain 1 and repeat a double crochet into this very first double crochet, chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, and into the next you're going to go with a double crochet, chain 1 into the next with a double crochet, into the next with a double crochet, and I'm going to repeat this for a bit more until I get to the very center. Here I'm coming to the very beginning. I am going to stop right here, which means, as you can see, that the stitch marker is attached to the chain 1 space, which means that is the center stitch and not a double crochet stitch. So I'm going to count from the stitch marker inwards, which means I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitch right before this double crochet. So I'm going to stop here and go back to the opposite end because I need this gap on this side for the collar, and you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So you're basically leaving 4 stitches right before the stitch marker, and then you're going to just chain 1 and turn. After chaining 1, you're going to go into this very first double crochet again with a double crochet, chain 1 and repeat the pattern. Keep in mind that we are not decreasing or increasing, we're just keeping a straight row, just the same way we've been doing for the front and the back panel. The only difference is we are going to stop right there and go back, and I'm going to repeat this for a total of 19 rows because I need 19 rows to balance off the front and the back panel. And of course, when I'm done, I'm going to attach the yarn, do the same thing, and also keep in mind that I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4 stitch, which means my last double crochet is going to end right on the stitch, and I'm going to chain 1 and go back and forth until I have a total of 19. So I'm going to come back when I have 19 rows on this side, 19 rows on this side, so we can do what the next step, so we can see what the next step is. For now, this is what we have, and I'm just going to do that, and I'll see you guys when I have that complete. Hey guys, so right here I just finished the front panel as well. I did do a total of 19 rows on each side so I can balance off with the back panel. So now I'm just going to align these two because we are going to go ahead and attach the two sides together at the two ends of the panels. So I think I would want my armhole to be a bit wider compared to a fitted fit. I'm not going for a fitted look. I want it to be a bit loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure 9 inches from the top, and I'm going to mark this with a stitch marker. So 9 inches from the top downwards is going to be marked with a stitch marker. And the same thing is going to be done on the opposite side as well. Which means from the stitch marker downwards I'm going to single crochet, from the stitch marker downwards I'm going to single crochet, and the top obviously I'm going to single crochet as well. And I'm going to show you guys how I go about doing that in case you are a total beginner. So you're going to grab, I still have my yarn attached to the project by the way, so I'm just going to go ahead and align the stitch just so I have the right stitch. So I'm going to go into that stitch on the opposite panel, go back into that same stitch, grab the yarn, and I'm going to single crochet. You can use a slip stitch, you can use a needle for this method, but I always use single crochet. So I'm going to go into this chain 1 space. You don't want to skip the chain 1 since you're single crocheting, and you're going to go to the chain 1 on the opposite side as well, and you single crochet the two together. So you're going to go into the next stitch, which is a double crochet, the next stitch on the next panel, which is a double crochet and single crochet. And guys, this is what I'm going to do on the 4 different sides of the panel, and I'll see you guys when I have those 4 sides complete. Hey guys, so right here I have both front panel and back panel attached together. So now we are going to go ahead and start working on the rows that we are going to go ahead and do around the neckline, just so we can make this meshed up a bit more fancy and not just a basic mesh. I would have done something extra if I had another set of yarn, but like I said, this was just me going through my old yarn, and I found this yarn. I just wanted to make something of it, so I'm just using different yarns to make a meshed up of it, something very light for the summer. So this is what it looks like now. So I'm just going to grab the yarn so we can work on the rows. The rows, it's worked in 3 different sizes. So you have small, you have medium, and you have large. I am going to be making the small, but I'll put the numbers up that you would need for medium, because to make the rows bigger all you need to do is have more chains. But I'm going to start with the foundation chain and chaining a total of 31. If you're making a medium, then you need to chain 61, and if you're making a large, then you need to chain 91. So I'm basically going to go ahead and chain a total of 31 chains. And after chaining a total of 31 chains, you're going to go ahead and chain an additional 5. So if you're making a medium as well, you're going to go ahead and chain an additional 5. After chaining 5, you're going to go into that 6th chain, which is the 31st chain, with a double crochet. Right there you have your first double crochet. After your first double crochet, you're going to skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and into the 3rd you're going to go with another double crochet. After that double crochet, you're going to chain 3, and you're going to insert another double crochet right into that same chain. Right after, you're going to skip 2 chains again, 1, 2, and into the third you're going to go with a double crochet, chain 3, and an additional double crochet into that same chain. And this is what you're going to repeat until you get to the end of the row. So you're going to skip 2 chains into the third with a double crochet, chain 3, go into that same stitch with a double crochet again. So you're going to repeat this until the very end, and I'll see you guys at the end. Coming to the very end of the row, you should have a total of 3 chains remaining. If you don't, it's not a big deal. You're just going to go into that last chain with a double crochet, chain 3, and an additional double crochet into that last chain. And right there you have a complete row. From here on, we are going to start with the row 2, sorry, with a chain 3. You're going to chain 3 and turn, and into this very first chain 3 space you're going to go with 5 additional double crochets. So remember, the chain 3 we just did is a double crochet, so in total you're going to go in that first chain 3 space with 6 double crochets. So 5 double crochet plus the chain 3 gives you a total of 6 double crochet. After your 6 double crochet into that space, we have a space right before the chain 3 again. Into the space is where you're going to go with a single crochet. And after the single crochet, into this chain 3 space again, you're going to go with 6 double crochets, all into that same space. After the 6 double crochets all into that same space, right, the space right before the chain 3 space, you're going to go in there with a single crochet again. And right afterwards, you're going to go into this chain 3 space with 8 double crochets. So you're doing 6 double crochets into the first 3 chain 3 space, but then into the third, you're going to go with 8 instead of 6 double crochets. So you're going to go in there with 8 double crochets. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right into that third, I have 8 double crochets. Into this next space before the next chain 3, I'm going to go with a single crochet. And into the next chain 3 space, I'm going to go with 8 double crochets. And right there we have 6 double crochets, 6 double crochets, 8, 8. So this is the pattern that you're going to repeat, but you're going to do this right before you're going to insert 8 double crochets into the chain 3 space. When you get to this space, you're going to single crochet, but when you get to the chain 3 space, you're going to insert the 8 double crochets until you get to the 2 last chain 3 space, right? Because remember, we did 6 double crochets into the 2 first chain 3 space. Into the 2 last chain 3 space, we're going to do 10 double crochets, but for the remaining chain 3 space, you're just going to go inside with 8 double crochets. You're inserting 8 double crochets into the remaining chain 3 space before you get to the 2 last one. Do not forget to single crochet into that space before the next chain 3 space. Always remember to do that. So coming to the last 2 set of chain 3 space, I'm going to go into this space right before the second to last with a single crochet, and into the second to last stitch, chain 3 space, sorry, I'm going to go with 10 double crochets all into that same space. Into this chain this space before the last, I'm going to go with a single crochet, and lastly into this last chain 3 space I'm going to go with 10 double crochets. 10, and from here on you're just going to chain 1 and leave a very long drawstring, because this is what you're going to need to eventually sew in the rows together. So you're going to leave a long string. You're just going to start wrapping from the 6th, and then you're just slowly going to wrap this all around, slowly wrapping. You just have a beautiful rose, and you're just going to sew in all these which I'll show you guys how to do in the next clip. But this is how you make the simple rose. So right here you can see that I already did sew in the ends of some of the rows. I'm going to show you guys how you can do that as well. You're going to be using a needle for this. To pick up the needle, for the needle you're just basically going to trim the needle, and I just tie one edge of the needle and leave the other edge open. But you can also make the knot around too, and you're going to turn the entire rose to the opposite side, and make sure you wrap the last side if it's not wrapped properly. And what I do is I go into the very last stitch right there. That's the way you're going to get the seal before you can continue. So you're going to go into that last stitch, and then you're inserting the needle into any random stitch at the back, and you're just going to pull through. So right there you have the last stitch attached. From here on it's super easy. You're just going to go into some of the stitches. You're going into any random stitch, and then you just sew just the same way you'd sew. Because this is going to be at the back, you don't really have to be super careful with this, because nobody is going to see the side anyway. So you're just going to keep randomly sewing the sides, the back of the rows together. That's where you have the stitches stick to each other, and that is what I'm going to do, and that's what I did for the rest of the other roses. Actually, just carefully going to just sew a few stitches together around. You're going to just make sure you make a knot. So I have this excess here, and I'm just going to make a double knot with that, so I can secure the sewing that I just did at the back. So right there I have all my roses complete. I do have excess yarn on each rose, because again, like I mentioned, that's the yarn I'm going to use to secure each rose to the mesh. So I have two medium, I have two large, two medium, and two small. So right here with the mesh top, I am going to align. You can play around however you want the roses to be. You can put these on both sides. So align the two large, the two medium, and then the two small. Would have been nice like this as well, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start from this corner, and then I end up right at the very top, like you guys did see from the final look. So I'm just going to align this lavender color first, because then it's just in a uniform form. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch to the medium, grab the second medium. The two large is just going to go right at the top, and this is what the final look is going to be. But first I'm going to start with the lavender with the first medium. And because I don't have excess yarn on this one, I'm just going to grab the yarn that I have left, and I'm going to go and let me cut off this excess right now. Okay, hold on. I think I'm just going to grab these two yarn and just go into a stitch. Guys, I'm just going to go into this corner stitch right there, and I'm going to grab one string of the yarn and I'm going to make a knot with the yarn. I'm gonna just make a knot and then I'll make an excess knot just so it's super secure. So right there we sort of have the first attached. I don't think that's super secure, so what I'm going to do to make sure it's super secure is I am going to do the same thing I did when it comes to sewing. So I'm just going to grab a few stitches at the back and I'm going to go into a few stitches on the top, on the mesh top, and I'm going to grab the yarn and secure that as well. And from there on, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with going into a stitch on the rows, grab the yarn, the working yarn, and single crochet, go into a stitch on the rows, just basically where you sewed, and then you're going to go into the next available space. So you're basically working this way, right? So you're going to go into the next available stitch on the top and single crochet together, and that is how we are going to securely attach each of the rows so to the mesh top. And lastly, I'm not doing this for many rows, I'm just doing this for few rows. You're just going to go into a stitch on the mesh, on the rows, one on the mesh, and you're going to single crochet those two together, and that is how you're going to securely just secure chain one. And I'm going to cut. And this is how you are going to secure the rows onto the top. It's a bit shabby, but you guys will understand later. So right here I'm going to grab the second one and I'm going to do the same thing, the same exact step, but because I have excess yarn I don't have to use any yarn. I'm just going to go into the neck. So right there is where I attached the rows, first rows, right? So rows, the first rows. So I'm just going to go into this next mesh chain one space, sorry, and I'm going to grab the yarn on the second and make a secure knot, because you want to make sure the two roses are secure and also close by each other. You don't want them to be too far from each other, because I honestly don't want the gap in between these two roses. I just want it to nicely fall on each other like that. So I'm going to go back and make another excess secure knot, and I'm going to do the same thing with making sure it's well secured. I'm going to go into a few stitches around the back, but then this time around I'm going to go back into this previous row on the side again, just because I want the roses to be close to each other. So I'm just going to grab a stitch, single crochet, grab a stitch, single crochet on this opposite side, because now you're moving this side. You're just doing that for one, and then you're going to grab another stitch from the rows, another stitch from the mesh, and single crochet that as well. And lastly, you can do this for 2, 3, 4 times, just so you make sure that the rows is secure. But it shouldn't be entirely secure, because then you might lose the shape of the rows. So right from there, you're going to chain 1 and cut. And right there, you have your second rows attached to each other. We have excess yarn that we have to deal with later on, but for now I'm just going to wrap this all out, just so you can see what it looks like without the excess string right now. We have the second rows attached, so I'm just going to grab the first medium rows, and that is going to go right above this rows. And because we're working in this line and we already have the second rows feel on that side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this. So I'm skipping this chain 1. I would have gone into that chain 1, but because this is a medium rows, it's bigger, I'm going to skip the chain 1 and go into this double crochet, and I'm going to do the same thing by attaching it with this excess yarn that I have on, and I'm just going to chain 1 and do that. So now I have it secure a bit, but I'm going to again go ahead and do more single crochets around, play around with the rows a bit as well. I already love how this looks. So I'm going to do the same thing, guys. So grab a stitch on the rows, go into the next stitch on the top, grab the yarn, pull that through and pull through, grab a stitch on the rows. You can use a single crochet slip stitch to do this. Grab a stitch on the mesh top, pull through, yarn over, pull through, grab a stitch. You want to make sure you're doing this on one side, guys. I don't know how I can explain this better. Grab a stitch on here, pull through, yarn over and pull through again. And usually I'm just going to go back and just check and see if the what is it called, if the layer or the shape is fine. Yes, the shape. I'm just going to go and check if the shape is fine, then I can move on to the next one, because again you just need to secure one side. I'm just going to do this for two more stitches, and I'm going to do the rest as well, and I'll show you guys the final result when it's complete. Hey guys, so this is the final look. I cannot wait to style this and just make something else. Very excited to wear with this. I'm thinking of making a skirt, so I can just wear the vest on top. I am looking forward to wearing this. Let me know if you guys get to make yourself one, and if you do, don't forget to tag me on Instagram, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.